Gibson.
Budget a couple of weeks ago been different, we might not all be sitting here this evening. We might not even need to have this debate. Many public sector workers have seen their pay fall, as we've heard in some cases, by up to £5,000 over the last 7 years. And in the same period, consumer price inflation has risen by 15%. That is not sustainable in anybody's book, and the budget can only be seen as a missed opportunity to try and redress this balance. Surely most people, not just in this chamber, but across the UK, surely most people understand that this 1% pay cap is not just unsustainable, it is deeply unjust, and surely the Minister will not attempt to justify this. How on earth can he? The current position of the UK Government, as I understand it, seems to be cherry-picking certain public sector workers, picking them off and potentially attempting to set them against each other. If that isn't the plan, that certainly looks like it's the plan. How will it improve matters by trying to set these workers against each other? In Scotland, the Scottish Government has been unequivocal that the pay cap must go. This cannot be any longer justified or sustained. With rising inflation alongside too many years of pay restraint, our public sector workers are feeling too hard-pressed, despite every single day delivering essential services to our communities, which we all use. And at this juncture, Mr Chair, I really must declare an interest. Until I was elected in 2015, I served in the public sector, as I'm sure many people in this room did as well, as an English teacher for over 20 years, and I too endured that pay cap until I was elected. I too saw my wages fall in real terms, so I know what it's like. What I also know is that Scotland's budget in 2018-19 will be around £3.1 billion less in real terms than it was in 2007-8, had it not been cut by successive UK governments. The real way, the proper way to fund the lifting of the pay cap is for the UK Government to commit new money which will bring a consequential to Scotland. That's the only realistic way to do this, as the honourable gentleman from Ogmore has pointed out earlier in the debate. Like the honourable lady from Warrington North, I'm fed up with this government mouthing concerns about so-called appreciation for public sector workers, yet seeming to be quite willing to justify holding down their wages and see their living standards fall. When the Scottish Government's budget is announced next week, unlike the UK's Chancellor budget, it will focus on trying to strike a balance between affordability and offering a fairer deal for staff, and full details of that will be published next week. But let's be clear, the Scottish Government faces budgetary constraints, but let's do as the honourable gentleman from Ogmore pointed out, let's put the responsibility, the ultimate fiscal responsibility for the situation that we're all in where it belongs, squarely on the shoulder of the Chancellor. But I would urge the Minister to be mindful of the real and understandable anger of those working in the public sector, providing essential services. This public petition reflects the anger that the UK is now on course for the longest fall in living standards since records began, according to the Institute of Fiscal Studies. And they've also pointed to its forecasts of slumping productivity and wage stagnation, which they have described as pretty grim reading. Household disposable incomes are set to fall until 2020. The Chancellor's budget did not address any of these issues. It's already been pointed out in this debate, the budget has clearly been a profound and cruelly missed opportunity to show that the public services across the UK, that they are valued and that they matter. We've heard today, warm words don't pay the rent, warm words don't put food on the table. The fact is, the ideologically driven austerity of the UK Government is affecting every corner of the UK and every devolved administration's budget. To say there's no new money available to fund public sector increases which have been held down for too long and is really now hurting those workers' take-home pay has also caused great anger. There are millions of pounds on the table for Brexit. There were billions of pounds on the table for the DUP. There is apparently a blank cheque for Trident. So there is money, but the fact is that public sector workers are simply not a priority. And that's disgraceful. And I urge the Minister to reflect on this and to reflect on the fact that when his government says they value public sector workers, to consider how does this value manifest itself? What does it mean? Whatever it means, it doesn't mean continuing this cruel pay cap. It doesn't mean continuing to alienate our hard-pressed public sector workers. And I really hope the Minister will go back to the Cabinet and his ministerial colleagues and convey the anger that public sector workers justifiably feel.